It is a very cool shelf, though it needs a little work. A little work. And then I'm going to see if I can do something on the back so that it's not like you don't see through it. So I think that part is just, I got to hammer it back in. And then we'll see what else we can work with. But I know I'm going to have to sand it because it's really shiny to give it a paint job. But before I sand it, I think I'm going to give it an option of being two different ways. If I cut that bottom part off, which is detail, that's just there, that makes it so you can't set it down. I mean, not everybody has the wall space or wants wall. So I think I'm just going to go to the bandsaw and see if I can cut that detail off. Now you have multiple options. So cute. I don't know. So my idea was paint sticks because it won't make it terribly heavy and you can buy a whole bunch of paint sticks. Though I'll have a little bit of detail where it's rounded at the top. But I should be able to butt them all the way. And so it'll just be a little more detail. I'm not going like to make them all the way up here. Yeah, you saw what just happened there. Yeah. So it's just going to be in this middle section. And I need to see if I have to rip any. So I will see how many it will take to go across. The full one. Yeah. That was lucky. So I need to make a mark where I need to cut on the bandsaw because I don't have the power to, after I get them attached, to cut them. So you want to leave enough that there's something for it to be attached to, but then I have all this hangover. So I just need to make a pencil mark. I'm going to use my little guide here, especially since I'm going to be making multiple cuts. So it magnets onto the saw by just twisting. Now it's on there. And now I have a whole bunch to cut. I don't know if I'm talented enough to cut multiples at a time or not. We'll see. Oh, not bad. Okay, now we're going to use a little bit of wood glue. This is Tight Bonds, quick and thick. I'm going to use a air staple gun to staple them on. Brad nailer might just, well, chances are it'll go right through. Now I'm just going to wipe that excess glue off. Now there's going to be a hard edge, so I'm going to take the sander. The glue's still wet. Just if any of the sand dust decides to stick to the glue, even better. Curiosity, what does it look like? Oh, there you go. See, it's just a little extra detail. And once we paint it, that's kind of, the paint is going to bond the seams, so I'm not worried about putting a backer or anything on here to hold that across the paint. The paint's going to kind of act like that. Just makes it's a nice size shelf. So we're just going to get the sanding dust all washed off. So I'm just going to go in and shellac it, brushing it on. There's a lot of space here. The glue's still wet. That's okay. The shellac has to dry and the glue has to dry. So I'm going to be mixing up a little concoction for that shelf. I want the back to be white. I'm going to do a two-tone here, little cottage going on. But I'm going to start off as my base with Cheshire. Now this is a tablespoon. So I'm going to do 4 of that, and then 1 of in a pickle, which is going to brighten it. And I loved when I did some butter. I don't have any more butter. Now I have to. I'm going to use hollandaise. Oh, hey, look at bonus. When you can't find your scoop, it's already in there. I lose more scoops that way. I liked what the yellow tone did to it, so I want to see what this is going to do. It's nice because you can kind of mix it up as a dry powder, and it kind of shows you the color. And I think that's what I'm looking for. Sweet Pickins is a powder paint and that you mix with water. So I'm not even sure. I think I did 6 scoops. So I'm going to do 5 of the water. This part I'm going to do white, but this I want to do the green. I wanted to mix it up kind of thick, so I only have to hopefully do 1 coat and that it's not too runny to run onto the paint stick area. It's getting a little bit thick on me. It's like it's hard to push, so I'm just going to add a little bit of water and give it a stir. You don't want it to be runny, but you also don't want it to be so thick that you're like, I can't spread this. Now my green is still wet, but I know my white's going to take multiple coats, and I'm just going to go in with Fusion's Picket Fence as a top coat primer all in one. Isn't that funny? Usually you don't want to get paint in your slats, but I want to get paint in my slat in the middle of the 2 pieces so it bonds it together a little bit. I'm going to end up painting the back too, just to finish the whole item off, but and the nice thing about making something look gold, you don't have to like, oh my gosh, my 2 paints are touching and I don't have a crisp line. Doesn't matter when you're trying to make it look gold. Takes the stress off. I know I used to think when I started this journey that I had to do everything like, oh, I have to do it perfect or people aren't going to want it. And then we started to go to auctions, and I was watching people fight over pieces that were perfectly imperfect and chipped and not. And I'm like, I can paint that. I can paint something like that. And so I started finding milk paint, and I'm like, oh, people like it. People were buying it out of my booth faster than my crisp painted pieces. My crisp painted pieces were just sitting there. So I found my niche. That's what we're all looking for in life, right? Don't get me wrong, some pieces do cry for not everything can have chippy paint. And we all in life just do our journey, what works for us. Okay, we got it all painted. As you see, I did the back also. So we're going to sand it, see what it does. So I'm going to wax this, but I'm going to clear coat wax it first, clear wax first, and then aging wax by Fusion because I don't really want to terribly darken it up, though I do want to seal it in. And it's not going to do too much to the Fusion's white paint because that has a top coat in it. Maybe where I sanded it and I got just some of the wood, it will, but definitely a fun mixture of green. So I'm going to go ahead and put the same hanging system that was on here back on. That way if somebody does want to hang it up, and if they don't, they can take it off. But I'm not putting the flathead screws back on. I'm going to use some Phillips. Do you see a swan? Yes, you do. I bought these at a flea market. I actually bought 2, and they've been in my booth forever. 2 freshly painted. They're beautiful. They're signed, but they're not selling. To the point now that the price was marked down to where I was giving them away. So I'm going to make them chippy. Chippy sells. So sometimes, yes, sometimes things are too clean painted and people are looking for age. So I'm going to sand it a little bit though, because there is a top coat on here, and we'll see what it does. So I'm just trying to get the top coat off. I'm like feeling for texture so I can tell, because I'm using 80 grit to really rough it up. Of course, there's always that area you can't get in with your electric sander. And I'll try to tape off the eyes. Okay, I'm just going to wipe it down, get any sand dust off of it. So to achieve that age, I'm going to be using flour sack, Sweet Pickins. And this is a big guy. So I'm sad that I have to repaint him, but I'm going to try to get around the base first. It's a nice thick mixture. But even though the whites seem to match, they won't necessarily match completely, and we don't want them to completely match. Sometimes it is hard to do something all at once, but then I'm going to reprise them up on here since I got the bottom layer done now. A little bit too thick now. Just see if adding character to the paint does the trick. And hopefully the paint does. The thing about milk paint is just because you want it to do something doesn't mean it always wants to do something. I'm going to keep the beak this color out. I'm probably painting it black. So I'm not worried about, I just want to make sure that I get all the way up to it so it gets that texture. So my white is still drying. I'm going to go ahead and paint his bill. I just have some Fusions Cold Black. And since it's indented, I'm just doing the same space that's already been done. Well, you can't see it from afar, but there is texture on here. So we're going to go ahead and get it sanded and see what comes through. This is a big guy. So now I'm going to go in with clear, and then I'm going to do aging wax. I am going to do aging wax. That way it gets into the, there is crackling and crazing on this piece, but I didn't want to turn my white paint brown. So we'll do this first. If I do aging on top of the white paint without filling it in, it will be more of a dirty brown color. And I did clean off the bottom better than it was. I didn't paint the original piece. I just bought it. In with aging. That will stick into all the little detailed pieces. And hopefully give it the look that somebody, can you see it? What you didn't see before, you see now. So now it has, I call that character. Imperfections. Character. So here's, there was a set of them. So here's this one. And now we can see the difference. I could actually use some wall decor, so just in case something sold, which something already has, this is just an old frame. I'm going to get those nails out so I can remove the glass. And I'm not going to be reusing this hanging system, so we'll clip that off, and I'll take that hardware off. Makes you so nervous. That one doesn't, that one's giving me fit, so I'm gonna, if I could take the glass out, I'm going to go ahead. Those are really long. I know you want to see how beautiful this frame is. It is beautiful. I love finding these older frames. Though I will be putting some shellac on it because it's really hard to sand. I'm going to sand this a little bit, but this texture is really hard to sand. So shellac helps the paint bond, but I will go around this outer edge. And I protect that back by taping it off before even shellacking it. So this is just the shellac in the can that you paint on. It does come in a spray bottle too. But whatever works for y'all. So I'm going to be decoupaging and probably doing mirror effect because it is so hard to find an old frame and paper that matches right up. It's so, you know, you're lucky if it fits it. But my idea, I sell swans really well. I haven't done a swan, and I know I have another swan in this video, but swans usually sell really well for me. And I haven't done any swans, and I actually had some people at Christmas time ask, oh, I was looking for a swan picture, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, I just like try not to be terribly repetitive, but what do you do if it sells well? So I'm going to get this cleaned off, and this actually is not glass, y'all. It's plastic, plexiglass. So I did not know that until I got it all taken apart. So we are going to see if this is going to work for me or not. I have not done that on a piece of. I'm like, hey, let's test it out. Can I do mirror effect and decoupage on plastic? Let's see. Now I ordered these off of Zazzle, and I tend to like just have different sizes on hand because you just never know. So far it's looking like it's going to be the smaller one, because this one I will have to, I'm like, if I wanted the whole image to fit, I have to cut off the tail. This won't be centered. So you can order, like, if you're lucky enough, I never like have pre-thought. I'm always like, yeah, so this one's way too big. Yeah, way too big. Because when you order from Zazzle, it takes weeks because they print them out as you are ordering, as you order. So this is what I think. I'm going to use the smaller one so we can fit the whole thing in and then do mirror effect around the outside. It's reflective like glass. You can see our shop lights above us. So I'm just going to kind of center, eyeballing, because I need to mark off my image, and I think Sharpie will still come off with the magic eraser. So what I'm doing is I'm going to trace my swan. So I know where to put the mirror effect. Now where I traced, that's going down. That is going, because remember this was my image. So it's opposite now. So my marking's on the opposite side. I'm going to set this off to the side so I don't get it messy. So now I have, this is my favorite, which is the Rust-Oleum mirror effect. And then in a spray bottle, as you can tell, it's been mirrored. I have just plain white vinegar. As you can tell, I've used it because everything's mirrored. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the vinegar, and for whatever reason, the vinegar doesn't dry, the mirror effect doesn't stick to it, but it leaves an aged look. So I'm just going to hit that. I like when it has big drops, if possible. Now I have to mask on it because this is smelly, so now I'm going to use my mirror effect. Okay, now I need to let that dry. I don't want to hit plastic with a heat gun. So I'm just going to let that dry, and you can tell where it was shiny, it'll turn matte, and you know that it's dry. And then when that happens, you take a lint-free cloth, and this is just the shop towel, the one that you can get in the box, the white rags, and I will blot those droppings off. So you can see, so now I can just blot those off. That just gives it an antiquing look. But you don't want to do that when it's wet because you'll smear your mirror effect. And you don't want to do it with something linty because you could leave lint behind. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this process all over again until I get a good mirror going on. Okay, now I'm going to take black spray paint and just try to touch just the edges. That'll just stop, because the paper is not a complete fit. I'm hoping not to see the lines of the paper. A flour sack with swan is always matches well and always sells well. I'm going to use up the paint that I had left over from the swan that I repainted. Except I mixed some, I mixed water in with it. Look at it's like, because it had been sitting. That's okay. I'm going to have to do 2 coats on the frame anyway, so. As always, the first coat will attract the second coat. White's just one of those you usually have to do multiple layers. I'm not going to decoupage onto this piece, as I'm going to put it on a piece of poster board from the Dollar Tree store. So I'm just going to mark off where I need to cut. Or try to. Decoupage shows up really well against a white background. So that's why I'm like, well, I could paint or I could put it on a piece of poster board. So I'm going for the easier. Well, you know. Blade on my X-Acto knife, but it's got a little trickery going on here because I have to now center this to where the marking is. But since this is creased, I'm just going to take an iron to it and lay it down a little bit. That'll make it a little bit easier for me to work with. Parchment paper over it so I don't burn it. Yeah, I think that's good. Here I'm just going to use Fusion's Decoupage Transfer Gel. Mist the paper a little bit. You can use it like a balled up saran wrap bowl, or just put your hand in a Ziploc works also. I don't ever stress about creases. Some people do. You could drive yourself crazy, but now I'm going to seal this in with weather defense. You can see some of it starting to lift. That'll help that kind of calm back down so it doesn't completely come off. Maybe, sort of, it might, when I'm doing the waxing. Okay, now I'm just going to go in with some aging wax. We're going to go in and get all those little details just a poppin'. So I love these old frames. They just don't make them with this much detail. This day and age, anyway. And then use a clear as my eraser. Whatever chips off, you just have to take it. That's the whole point of milk paint, not to have this perfect paint job. So so much different. Time to get everything back together. Except I do need to run the sander right here because the paint pools and makes little bumpies. Now let's go and put it back into place. And there we go. And it might be, this piece may not go back on because it's going to raise above, which is fine. I'll just put a piece of contractor's paper to cover that up. But I get to use my handy dandy favorite tool. If I never had gone to a Hobby Lobby to have something framed, I would have never known about this tool. This is just some double stick tape. I'm just going to put a new hanger on. These little eyelets that I buy off of Amazon. Some 17 gauge wire. These old frames are heavy. And this seems to work out fine for everything that we've ever hung. So I just guesstimate. I just try to pull it as tight as I possibly can. Like to go above here, it'll end up stretching out and going above. So just try to do the best you can. I have this little stool that nobody wanted at an auction. So I'm like, you know what? I will take you home. I will make you over. I think the wood, y'all, somebody stripped the wood and it is beautiful. So I'm just going to change out what's on top, I think. Got some flathead screws, of course. You just have to decide if you want to change it. But I'll take a chance when nobody else wants to purchase it. Okay, now we got that off. Let's see if I can tighten these up. I think that's all they need. Maybe just, yeah, they just need their screws tightened. Yes, could I found any bigger of a screwdriver? Sure, I probably could have, but that's just helping them along. They just need a little tightening up. I feel their pain. Okay, so I have a whole, this has been reupholstered before. I have a whole bunch of tacks I need to remove. I'm thinking that maybe this is not the original. Okay, there we are. Okay, so I'm going to put, as you see, this foam has seen its days. It is not even foam anymore. It's just a cushion. Not even a very, I do have this piece of foam, so I'm just going to mark off where I need to cut it. The easiest way to cut foam is an turkey knife, an electric knife. So that's what I'm going to be using. some spray adhesive, and I'm just going to spray it onto the board. Even though this didn't have any, this is just help it when I go to wrap it. And then I just have, the foam comes on this when I order it from Amazon. So I just use it as my outer to help tuck it. So I just need to figure out how much I need to cut off. And then I like to cut the corners off a little bit. That way it doesn't bunch up too much in the corners when you're folding. I know this is just the protective layer, but still, every little bit will bunch up. And then we're just going to start stapling it. This just helps to pull it tight. And then I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to try to pull as tight as I can. And now I'm just going to take those edges and fold one over the other. I actually have some grain sacks. Now they have been washed. You know, grain sacks are a lot of times they are dirty old grain sacks. But when I was in the grain sack bucket and like washing them all up, look at that patchwork that somebody did. I know it's not everybody's vibe, but oh my gosh, my heart was, and I know it looks filthy and I know it looks dirty, but oh my gosh, my heart was just like, that is so cool. I think I'm going to flip it around. I think I'm going to do this side. Just a little hint of the blue, a little hint of the, like, I think that's corduroy. I don't know. It's so cool. Of course, this is a sack, so there's two pieces of it. So I'm going to see where those, they don't even have to line up because I don't think they're going to. Needed a little extra. Usually I'd roll it over, but I don't have a ton to work with, and I can cut the excess of this off. Readjust the inner lining. I had not cut my squares off yet, but I just wanted to get an idea. That is, I know it's stained up. I know it's, y'all are like, it's nasty. Anyway, I'm happy. That is all that counts. Work with this fabric just a little where it's bunched up. And I'm actually not going to paint this. If you notice when I was taking it off, somebody took the time to strip this. It is beautiful. I mean, and I think that story goes with that. Like, I don't think it needs a different color by any means. Though it needs a little cleaning, but I'm just doing this because I think it'll look a little bit cleaner. It's better. I'll just get it back together.